It is my current goal to beat the game of Pokemon Yellow in a solo challenge using every single one of the 151 entrances within the Pokedex for this game. And this week we are taking a look at Poliwhirl. Honestly, I'm a big fan of Poliwhirl, and that's not just in terms of playing through this game, I mean just sort of in a general sense. Love the design. He's pretty simple, but there's just something so... I don't even know how to put it into words. There's just something so perfect about this little design and this Pokemon. His vibe is awesome. And I just think I've been a big fan of Poliwhirl, not just since the games first came out, but also especially once I read through the Pokemon Adventures manga. I feel like that also really gave me a larger appreciation for Poliwhirl. It was a great series. I really enjoyed those first few generations. I didn't stick with it beyond that, but those first few generations were an absolute blast to read, and I definitely recommend them. As for this game and the purposes of a solo challenge, Poliwhirl has some really strong treatment. I feel like a lot of water Pokemon, a lot of psychic Pokemon all have really great opportunities within this game to perform very well. Poliwhirl is doing quite well in terms of stats overall. His special isn't great. I mean, it's not awful, but like in terms of where he is within his evolutionary line and everything like that, his special stat is his weakest point, which is unfortunate for a Pokemon where all of its stab moves, same type attack bonus moves, would be using the special line. But that doesn't mean that you can't do some really cool things with this Pokemon and get some really solid times. I am not currently in my speedrunning era, but I do think that Poliwhirl, for example, is a Pokemon that I think that I could potentially perfect or get closer to perfection. And that was an idea that I had even really before I started playing through it. Just looking at the move pool available to this Pokemon, I knew pretty early on, yeah, I think I could do something good with this. Like, there's a lot of tools to use here within the shed. I mean, just take a look at this move pool on the side here, right? Obviously, you have some water type moves that are going to do you well. We've started off with Bubble, Hypnosis, and Water Gun. Hypnosis is honestly a great move, but I have found that I am not a strong sleep move user. And not in terms of it's something that I'm not good at or anything like that. I mean more of it's just not my first nature. And I don't know why that is. I feel like there is something interesting that you could do with more hypnosis usage than I do within this run. And perhaps when we take another look at this Pokemon, perhaps that's something that we will kind of toy around with a little bit. But in terms of other psychic type moves that you do get the move Psychic. And I feel like that is pretty spectacular. Psychic is such a strong move overall, and in this generation alone, it really gives you the bang for your buck. And actually, it's a free move, so, you know, it's not even any buck that you're getting there, or any buck you're giving, whatever. Anyway, the other moves that you get are Ice Beam or Blizzard. Ice Beam, I think, will be better just because it has more PP, and, you know, you won't necessarily notice the difference between the lack of power in that, honestly, for a couple of different reasons. And even though, you know, we can learn Earthquake, I don't see myself using that one so much because, yes, our special is not as strong as our attack, but the good thing is that the last move that we need to take a look at is Amnesia. Amnesia is going to be the move for today, especially for some of the harder fights. But you know what's not a hard fight is Brock. We have cruised right through all of Viridian Forest, and just like that, we have defeated Brock at under 5 minutes. We are at 4 minutes 20 seconds. And while I'm not speedrunning, like I said earlier, I am looking forward to seeing what I can do with that time in the future. Okay, next up, we're kind of cooking along. I pick up the TM for Mega Punch, which is going to be quite helpful for fights like Misty. Then I stop here in Mount Moon again to do only one optional fight, which is this Hiker. Because every single one of his Pokemon is a rock type, it'll go down with one hit, so it's some good early experience. and just something that I can kind of move through quickly without really adding much time to this timer. Next up, we are going to obviously fight the rival team here at the Nugget Bridge. After this fight, we will work our way up to Bill, and then I will run back down to Misty. I probably actually could have fought Misty first, and then that way I could just go straight from Bill, straight down through the house where the thieves have stolen Dig, but I kind of think that either way, I'm going to end up having to go to the Pokemon Center at least once here, just to make sure that I'm fully healed up between one of these two major battles. So might as well just sort of do this, roll right along, and then come back for the badge like I do here. I skipped that optional trainer. We don't need that fight, so we're going to go right past it. We will take on this junior trainer, and 2 Mega Punches will get the job done. We're going to save, as always, just in case. You never know. We might have to do a reset. And then we go up against Misty. Luckily, at this point, 24 is pretty good. That's a critical hit. Probably didn't need the crit in order to one-shot it, but either way, that's fine. Now, I spent some time trying to do Hypnosis, which is interesting because I actually think if I just spammed Mega Punch a couple of times, I probably could have gotten in there before all of the Hardens and all of the X Defends, but either way, it just keeps going for that because I'm a water type, and so it's kind of the most effective thing. So we win. Now, we make our way to the SS, and the only optional fights that I will be taking here are this youngster in order to get Body Slam. It is a move that we learn naturally, but it's going to be a while, so we might as well pick it up now because it'll be just a little bit better than Mega Punch in terms of damage, but the more important part is that it is 100% accurate. Then we go here to fight just this one gentleman because he is the only thing that you need to fight in order to get to the rare candy that is in this room. Never skip the rare candies. I feel like they're always important. You know, a Pokemon like Mew might not need to get all of them if there's one that a couple extra steps, but Poliwhirl, it's only, 5 extra steps in 2 Pokemon. You can definitely take those few seconds. Grab that. It'll be helpful in the future for not leveling up mid-battle during the Elite Four. That's like the main reason that we want to keep at least a few of those in this game. Now, going up against this team here, I actually probably could have switched to Body Slam. Kind of forgot for a brief moment that I had it. I was just sitting there thinking, well, they don't really have any decent special stats. I do, or better than theirs, so I'll start using those. So then we get TM Cut. We go over to Surge. We are a water type, but the incredible thing is he uses Mega Punch, and I don't fully understand that because he threw Thunderbolt there would have killed me, I'm fairly certain, or maybe 2-shot at best, but I'll take it. Now we are going to kind of cruise right through some sections here. There's no issues in the rock tunnel. And then we go do a couple of things very quickly within Celadon, but I do not go for the badge, so there's nothing to really show. The main thing is just that I pick up a Pokédoll, and then I come back to the tower, and then we go up against the rival here, and we are going to use that item. I forgot going into that fight to teach Bubble Beam, so you'll see me here going, oh, that's right, I have that move. This will be something that I can use that'll be a little bit stronger that I can hold on to until we get Surf. And then I also had picked up Ice Beam, forgot to teach that, which I mostly recognized when I went up against that Fearow and realized, oh, okay, that should have been 1-shot. Body Slam did decent enough though. After that, we make our way to the top of the Pokemon Tower. Then we cut through Saffron, we pick up the move Psychic, cut through Celadon, go all the way down to Fuchsia City. We will go back to Celadon in a little bit. Just want to make sure that we're plenty of levels above those grass type. Those are one of the only Pokemon that I think, like Surge, could give us some trouble right now. And then we're going to use Psychic against all of these Pokemon here. And we're going to have to make an interesting choice in a little bit. Body Slam usually does me pretty well, but I think it's about time that we get rid of it in favor of something else. In the meantime, Psychic will be the thing that we use to get through all of this team. That was much easier than most Pokemon have it here at this gym. Luckily, we also have now picked up Amnesia. Amnesia is a crucial move for the majority of this whole thing, especially in the Elite Four and the Champion, because we're definitely going to be kind of lower on the level side, at least compared to other runs that we've done. And Amnesia is a move that will give us some boosts to our special. And that's going to be important, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, because our special isn't necessarily huge, right? But also, there's a great thing in this generation called the badge boost glitch. And effectively what happens is every time you get a badge that gives a stat a boost, right? So currently we have one for speed, we have one for defense, and we have one for attack. Every time I use Amnesia, you'll see my special go up, but the bonus that was added to those stats there are also going to get reapplied and added on again. So every time I boost one thing, I'm going to boost all of the other things. And so that'll be great because Amnesia will get me +2 each time I use it, so I can use it 3 times per battle. If I level up, it will reset all those other stats, which to some extent won't be the worst thing, because for the most part, the main thing that I really am going to be nervous about is our special, but sometimes the speed could be a concern. For example, a Pokemon like Aerodactyl could be dangerous. And some of the Pokemon here in Erica's gyms could be dangerous in this category as well, but luckily we were already leveled up enough and we had Amnesia, so we make it through very quickly, very effectively, and very efficiently. I feel like I should have had a third term. Things come in threes, right? Important things. Now we've gone on to the rival. I have gone to Sylph Co here, and once again, it is minimum battles. We have only fought like 2 people at this point, right? Or not 2 people, sorry, we're at level 44. We've definitely fought a few more people than that. I fought through 2 floors of people, basically, is the main thing. That's what I'm looking for. I've gone to floor 10 in order to get the rare candy that's up there. I fought both of the trainers there. And then I fought the trainer outside of floor 3. And then, of course, also on floor 5, where you get the card key. So those are the places where I've done some fights. And then I've gone through the rival. The rival was luckily quite simple on this one. I didn't even heal. This is a real risk that I'm running. Usually I secretly go back, heal, and then I come back and do like a cheeky little cut and edit. And I do that sometimes there as well. Not today. I have picked up my rare candies. I double check. And then I use my card key. I get in and we are at Giovanni number 2, but technically number 1 for this run, because we skipped the Celadon game corner. We don't need to go there. That's why we picked up the Pokédoll. We didn't need to spend some extra time in there. We can actually get through this without all those extra levels, all those extra fights. And of course, you don't need the Sylph Scope in order to get through the Pokemon Tower. That's why you get the Pokédoll. The Pokédoll is a great thing for like speed runs or faster runs. Now we're going to do something interesting here. We're going to skip a little bit. Basically, normally I would just immediately go to the gym there in Saffron City, but I actually go to Blaine next. And look at that. Because we're a water type, that was so simple, so easy. And now we have a boost to our special. You can still see that our special is still quite low, but I think this is going to be very effective and very good for going up against Sabrina, because all of my moves are special moves. So now here in her gym, I can use Amnesia and boost my special up so that their moves aren't very effective against me, but mine are now better against them. And so there, I do get 1 accuracy debuff, which can get a little scary at times, but luckily they also kind of spam a few wasteful moves, and so we're out of there. This is turning out quite nicely. At this point, this is the fastest time we have had since Mew, and Mew is obviously a legendary Pokemon, so that feels very different. In terms of all of the Pokemon that we have had in any realm, this is definitely the fastest we've been. We're at 52 minutes going into Giovanni 3, or for this run, Giovanni 2. And luckily with those boosts that we get from Amnesia, it gets a little scary. You just saw all those other stats drop down, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to outspeed everything else. Dugtrio is the only thing that we really need to worry about on speed. And with that, with a high level of special, we can just surf our way to victory, because we didn't do any bonus fights there, And maybe I could have afforded to do 1, maybe 2, just so I could level up, not in the middle of this fight, right? But it's sometimes harder to gauge exactly where I'm going to come out from his gym level-wise, right? I feel like if I'm going into his fight fresh, then I'm going to end up in this one, obviously mid-range, and vice versa. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I think the only Pokemon that really feels like it's a concern at this point for this fight would be Magneton. It can get a little nerve-wracking, especially when you're confused, but we one-shot with Surf. I'm no longer confused, and so both Kadabra and Flareon can go down to Surf. Again, Surf's up. Surf is really serving us well, especially with that combination of Amnesia. It's a beautiful thing to see. I don't do any optional fights except for a single one near the very end, just to make sure that I am at the top of a level, so that when I start using my rare candies in a moment, I'm not wasting a bunch of experience. I only use 5 of them. Get us to level 57. I'll use the rest throughout the rest of this sort of area, like I've said before, just to make sure that we're not leveling up in the middle of some of the key fights. Now, Lorelei's team is probably the only team that I have a lot of concerns about here, just because we are both mostly water. I mean, I'm obviously all water, but her Pokemon are, for the most part, water/ice, and so I'm not really effective against them, so I have to be careful about some of these stats, right? And the way that some of these moves can interact. We got all the way to Lapras, and this is looking good. That is bad, though. Confuse Ray is a scary thing to see sometimes because it's easy to just keep going out, and when you keep hurting yourself, unfortunately, I did that to myself, basically. And there was no way to avoid it, right? That's just, you kind of have to take your lumps and just go for it. So I decided to use 1 more, or 2 more rather, rare candies. Might as well. I'm definitely not going to need one before Bruno, so I figured why wait? Why hold on to it? Let's just see if that changes anything. Maybe I can take a couple more shots from Lapras or something. Plus, that was our very first reset. We were just under an hour when we got our very first reset of this run, and that feels great. So doing just a little bit of experimentation just to sort of see if it changes anything on the timing also feels pretty good. Overall, I wanted to come in at under an hour for this. We're not going to do that, but I think we're going to be very close. And if you look at there, look at that, Lorelei goes down. The Confuse Ray is not an issue. We're done. Speaking of about being done, we're about to be done with this one in just a second because it's Bruno. Bruno is not difficult, especially if you have Surf and Psychic. You don't even need to use Amnesia in order to absolutely cruise through his lineup. I didn't heal going into this. I don't need to. I'm fine. The Karate Chop gets a little scary. That critical hit could have mattered, but it didn't. We are now at an hour in, and we're going up against Agatha's team, which could be quite devastating for most Pokemon. Using Amnesia should mean that, I really thought we were going to get close. The Mega Drain is really rough, but that's the only thing that really can get dangerous, I think. Then we get in there with Psychic, something that they are all weak to. In fact, every single one of those Pokemon, I didn't even need to use Ice Beam on Golbat. The fact that we had that special boost to get us to only get through with 6 health is pretty wild. But we did it, and that's all that you really need. Like I've said it before, it doesn't matter if you eke through. Eking through means you've made it, right? Now that we've done a couple of Amnesia boosts here against Lance, I want to get out of the Gyarados fight as quickly as possible. I probably could have afforded to do 1 more Amnesia if I really wanted to, because I froze some solid. That was very lucky on my part, but it doesn't look like we need it because we outspeed everything, and God knows that Ice Beam is extremely effective against the rest of that team. After a quick heal of a full restore and an elixir, and a couple of the last bit of the rare candies, we are now at level 64, higher than we actually probably need to be. And I only feel like I did a couple of optional fights here in this game. I wonder if there's extra ones that I could cut. I'm assuming I can. I'm assuming I could do this a little bit faster. But we don't need to worry about that right now. What we do need to worry about is we set up with Amnesia 3 times against the Sandslash, then we've used Surf twice, Ice Beam once, then we've used Surf again, We're going to use Psychic against the Cloyster. And then, because of those setups, every single one of these moves, including the Last Surf against the Flareon, is enough to one-shot the entire team for the rival, and we finish this one at 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 45 seconds. This feels just so nice. This is so satisfying. This is a run that I'm very excited to come back to someday and see if we can get a really competitive time with. I don't know what the current best possible time out there is, but I know for sure comfortably we can get it to 55, if not 50, and maybe we could push it to 45. You know, it looks like we could probably afford to lose a couple of levels here or there for some of these fights, maybe just a little bit better pathing here and there, and maybe make some better choices on when we go to certain cities kind of thing. Maybe that's all we need. But all I know is that I've really enjoyed my time with Poliwhirl. Love the design. He's great. I think it's just, he kind of reminds me, a round, soft boy who's just here to have fun and use Ice Beam. I don't know. And I think probably also Amnesia, because I don't know, sometimes I worry about my mind. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have and you're not already subscribed, please consider giving us a little follow here. Consider giving us a like. A comment always goes a long way for small-time creators like myself. And I really appreciate the comments every single week. I take the feedback to heart, try to learn something new every time. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Be kind to yourselves, be excellent to one another, and I will see you all next week for another solo challenge in Pokemon Yellow.